The menu isn't great. I'm worried about what purchases means, because apparently dynamic lighting and things are unlimited duration, which is why they would be, optional. I don't know. But settings. Oh, one thing is the touchscreen is haptic feedback, which is a cute concept, but unfortunately when driving and you need to glance at the screen rather than look to see where you're pressing, the haptic feedback's quite cool, but you quite often will miss touching things. Many of the options don't actually do very much, so I've got a whole options section here. I choose seats, and the only option I've got is easy entry. So I'm going to go out the menu. Why this isn't just listed out as one place, I have no idea. Many of the options are obfuscated. I mean, is it for efficiency or comfort and things? Seems to alter realistically the drive and handling characteristics, but also the ride of the height as well. Again, menu options off the side there. It's a nice looking interface, but yeah, it's not the best. You end up having to search around for options. There's features that we're missing off the Tesla, like we know what the Tesla default tire pressure should be, so why you have to pump them up and then store them, I don't know. There's no way of understanding what is my usage, is there any issues and things. So charging efficiency, I was hoping to have found a button that allows me to release the charge cable. I did eventually find it. It's actually the same button that you press to open the charge port on the outside, but yeah, there's no details in here about charging. Efficiency assist, which I'm assuming is the equivalent of giving power back, regen braking or whatever you want to call it. We have automatic or manual. In both cases, it seems to pretty much do nothing. The display on the dash, in fact, if I change the view to make it larger, you'll see this little piece down here will basically never get filled up. I've driven it for quite some time now, and it doesn't really work very well. Important point, this is the amount of, I figured out the way there. This is how much power you have remaining, like your fuel tank essentially. And at the top there you can see that there's only 155 miles remaining on about 80% charge, I think that says. So it's not brilliant. Also, yes, I don't drive like Miss Daisy, but 1.1 mile per kilowatt doesn't really equate to 155 miles. I don't know the actual charge capacity of the car, but I'm assuming it's something like a 70 kilowatt. So at that rate I'll probably be doing about 80 or 90 miles before it runs out in reality. So it's not ideal. The wing mirrors, they don't have real mirrors, although why I don't know, because the stalks are just as large and obtrusive, so they can still hit things and still don't really reduce down the amount of power. But they have these instead. They're not great. The view isn't as good as a real real mirror. In fact, in some cases it's almost impossible to see out of them, especially at night. But also, they have a stupid idea that they've got a very low viewing area. If I touch the screen, the reason for it is because I can move my view around, which sounds like a great idea, but then you realise actually the only reason you would need to do that on a mirrored car is because your driving position may move forwards or backwards. In this case, they may have just shown the whole of the view, because if they show the whole view, then realistically you see everything all of the time. My view doesn't change depending on where I'm sitting. There's some nice ideas, nice little visual things, such as if I move my hand over the top of this, you'll see the lights actually glow up and you can see what the options are. Although why we have these buttons here, we have them already on the dash as well, through the user interface. Again, haptic feedback not the best with ventilation. If I turn this on to maximum, and for some reason it's mirrored on the screen just there as well, it goes up to 6. It gets very noisy, but if I find a used mask, you can see it's about as useful as blowing gently in the breeze. It's the weakest fan in the world. It does eventually heat the car up, but it's a bit like an ice car. It takes a while to heat up the car originally, probably about 5-10 minutes from cold, so not ideal. We have on the system information. The information's not brilliant. It shows me the range, yep, 148 miles, the duplicate of what's shown on top there. But if you look at the bottom there, you'll notice it's not the best of information. I'd like to see some sort of graph of usage, not a total usage, because maybe I was going downhill or I was putting my foot down at a certain point. Just turn this fan down so you can. So yeah, it's not the best of information you get out of the system at all. The driver assist, I don't know what this is. The steering is very, very light. Yeah, it's very, very light. Until you get to a certain point, it becomes very, very stiff. So I'm not sure if it's adaptive steering to, adjust itself. But whilst driving down the road, even though we do have the driver assist turned off, it does feel like it's kind of nudging you a little bit, left and right, and keeping to the lane almost. It's like a lane assist thing, but it's not very good. So that's fine. We have a variation of, well, it's traffic aware cruise control. Realistically, it's not as good as autopilot in any way, shape or sense of form. And one of the biggest issues is it's quite slow to respond, I've found. So that's a bit of a problem. Starting the car, they've got a bit of a user interface issue here, which is the brake here, but in some vehicles basically lift and drop. I was expecting to be able to touch this screen because everything else is touch screens around here, but no, what you actually have to do is this piece of metal, you move forwards or backwards to change the details, at which point everything beeps. It's very off-putting when you're doing the sort of driving options and things, but yeah, you get a useful little view on here with a top-down view of the car and a rear view, or if you're going forwards, a forwards view. You will hear, however, if I start moving, you tend to get a little bit frustrated. I've got a faulty sensor on the system, so it's telling me, look, safe to move. And the camera view does move as I turn the steering wheel as well, which is quite useful. Gives me a little bit extra viewing angle, but again, why it doesn't just show me the full viewing angle in the first place, because the physical cameras aren't moving, so that's fine. But it does look like I'm going to hit this from the top-down view. It does look like it's really hard to actually work out, and at night it's even worse. But honestly, the ability to see out of the rear of the vehicle is almost impossible using these mirrors, or mirrorless mirrors, I suppose. You just can't get a feel of the size of the car, either from the top-down view or from the side mirrors. Let's go forwards again. And there goes the beeping. It likes to beep a lot. It beeps when it hits something, and gets really annoying after a while. One thing I keep forgetting to do is the start-stop button. It's the most frustrating thing. You walk away from the car expecting it to lock or do something, it never does. One last thing. It does feel nice, by the way. Yes, I know I've left the thing turned on. Yes, because I forgot to press the button. Is this little button here, which doesn't work because I've not turned the car off. Stupid thing. Try that again. This little button here creates a very nice, useful little sort of charge port access with lighting. And on the other side of the vehicle, we have the same. If it starts to open, because I've got the other one open, yeah. So the charge port's available on both sides. So if you find yourself in a funny charging location, that's fine. And they are on the front of the vehicle, which makes it a little easier when you've got your home charger. Anyway, that's the Audi E-tron. Nice vehicle, not brilliant. Very, very rough to drive. Not the best of vehicles to, if you like, your driving experience. But as a quality vehicle, it feels quite more, built more comfortably than the Tesla. Oh, oh yes, charging. Like a traditional car, we have a pull lever to access under the bonnet. Very, very clunky under the bonnet experience. And hidden away in here is the engine, or it looks like the engine, when you lift this up, it's a very flimsy plastic holder place to keep the charge cables. It's lacking a little quality on this piece. Enjoy.